The most powerful CEO in professional basketball did not lose to a rival network, a rival league, or a hostile acquisition by Silicon Valley. A 22-year-old rookie from Iowa outwitted him and decided she had better things to do. It's not a headline from a website that parodies sports. That's precisely what occurred when one word caused the NBA's most ambitious crossover event in recent memory to fall apart. No. In the months preceding the Bay Area All-Star Weekend, there was a lot of talk in the sports broadcasting industry about an ambitious proposal that seemed too wonderful to be true. Marketing teams, network partners, and league executives had been working in secret to put up what they thought would be the most viewed non-playoff basketball event in television history. Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Sabrina Ionescu, and Caitlin Clark, the one name that lit up every advertising executive's eyes like a Christmas tree, participated in a four-way three-point shootout. The forecasts were astounding. According to internal projections, the event might draw more people than actual playoff games. Premium fees were being offered for advertising slots. Promotional campaigns centered around the ideal matchup were already being drafted by network partners. Then, almost instantly, everything collapsed in a way that no one in those boardrooms anticipated. What transpired was more than just a schedule dispute. It was a full-scale corporate earthquake that revealed how drastically the power dynamics in professional sports had changed while no one was looking. You must go back and examine what was going on within the NBA's most cherished yearly tradition in order to comprehend why this moment struck so deeply. League executives were the ones who recognized that All-Star Weekend had been gradually declining for years. A horrible story was revealed by the ratings. Exhausted by exhibition games where no one played defense, fans were tuning out in large numbers, and the competitive stakes felt about as high as a celebrity champion. Golf scramble for charity. Losing fan investment during your main event was a truly concerning issue in a time when attention is the most precious commodity on earth. The excitement and urgency were gone. While the product they were paying for continued to lose cultural significance, television networks were spending billions on airing rights. Advertisers began posing awkward queries. The demographics of viewers were changing. The all-star structure has entirely alienated the casual sports fan, the one who doesn't pay attention to box scores but will stop scrolling to see something truly captivating. In crisis meetings, league executives were attempting to find a way to breathe new life into an event that had become a shadow of its former self. Instead of another staged halftime show or celebrity dunk contest, they needed something genuine, something that felt like it truly mattered. In order to break through the clutter and remind people of the original reasons they fell in love with basketball, they needed an organic moment of real competition. They believed that the cosmos had given them precisely that at the beginning of 2024. Stephen Curry and Sabrina Ionescu's three-point shootout turned into one of those uncommon sporting moments that nobody could have imagined and that everyone wanted more of right away. It was successful for reasons that corporate event coordinators are unable to produce on demand. There was intense rivalry. At the very top level, there was genuine skill on exhibit. Additionally, the crossover appeal between the WNBA's rising star and the NBA's most adored shooter sparked a social media frenzy that produced the kind of natural publicity that money can't really buy. The number of viewers increased dramatically. At the same time, highlight videos went viral on all platforms. After years of not interacting with all-star content, sports fans found themselves watching every shot and debating the outcomes with complete strangers on the internet. This was the blueprint they had been dreaming of for a league that was in dire need of that spark. Additionally, the instant institutional reaction was entirely foreseeable. Imagine what four top shooters from both leagues participating at the same time could achieve if one crossover event could do that much harm to the ratings record books. The math sounded easy. Double the crossover appeal, double the star power, and triple the viewership by a factor that would make network partners cry with genuine appreciation. Inside league headquarters, the plan rapidly became clear. Bring back Curry, add Klay Thompson for the Bay Area home audience, maintain Ionescu as the tried-and-true star, and center the whole spectacle around the one name that has been shattering records ever since she set foot on a professional court. According to the argument, Caitlin Clark was the missing component that turned a captivating event into a generational television moment. Securing Clark's commitment became the top objective for all those involved in the showcase's production behind the scenes. This was hardly a polite, informal invitation. Network executives, league representatives, and marketing teams all pushed in the same direction at the same time, creating a full-court press. There were substantial financial incentives under discussion. In the run-up to the event, promotional commitments were being made that would have featured her face on all of the nation's main advertising platforms. The majority of seasoned veterans never received the promised primetime attention. The entire package was created to make the choice seem entirely instinctive. On paper, taking part meant reaching a television audience that was far larger than what the WNBA could produce on its own at the time, sharing a stage with the greatest shooters in the sport's history, and solidifying her position in the cultural discourse before her second professional season even started. The general consensus was that, for a young athlete who was just beginning her professional career, this was the kind of opportunity you should immediately clear your entire schedule for. However, the individuals putting that package together were working from a very old playbook. They were basing their calculations on what leverage used to look like, how young athletes worked, and what a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity meant to someone just starting out in there. The ensuing pressure campaign was overt. League officials made it very evident that they saw her involvement as something like a responsibility, a duty owed to the sport, to the fans, and to the larger goal of expanding basketball's television presence. The messaging that emerged from executive circles implied that declining was in some way a sign of professional irresponsibility. The reality Clark was truly experiencing was completely overlooked in that frame. She had just finished one of the most taxing periods of an athlete's recent career, both psychologically and physically. Nothing like a typical off-season had been a part of her journey from college to the professional ranks. She had entered a WNBA rookie season with expectations no first-year player had ever faced, coming off of the intensity of a deep NCAA tournament run. Every game sold out. A national microscope was used to analyze each performance. Regardless of the number of cameras present, she was subjected to harsh fouls and relentless defensive pressure from seasoned players on the field every night. The last thing a truly fatigued athlete wants is to fly across the nation to function as a ratings rescue operation for an event that had nothing to do with her true competitive aspirations. She was exhausted in ways that don't appear on a spreadsheet. Her choice caused a national dialogue that lasted for weeks and went much beyond a straightforward three-point battle. The ramifications from the decision quickly spread outside of the executive offices and into the open media landscape. Analysts and sports pundits started publicly wondering if league executives had handled the entire issue incorrectly from the start. Some contended that it was fundamentally demeaning to Clark as an athlete to treat her more like a commercial attraction than a legitimate rival. Others cited what they perceived as a patronizing presumption that she would inevitably put the NBA's promotional schedule ahead of her own recuperation and competitive readiness. The discussion grew quickly. All of a sudden, this was more than simply a tale about a shooting match that broke down. It was an institutional referendum on respect, authority, and the NBA-WNBA relationship. The politics of how the deal had been handled suddenly captured the attention of commentators who seldom gave women's basketball any thought. Every attempt by league executives to minimize the seriousness of the situation just served to fuel an already raging fire, because the story had fully breached containment. You must comprehend the climate Clark had been navigating throughout her entire freshman year in order to completely understand why this moment was so highly heated. The WNBA hadn't only benefited from her presence. Alongside the rejoicing, there was genuine conflict, since it had been truly transforming. Everywhere she went, sellout crowds followed. After years of unsuccessful advocacy, charter planes finally became a reality. 18 months later, television contracts that would have appeared unattainable were signed and celebrated. By any quantifiable measure, she was the league's most influential rookie. However, there is turbulence when an impact of that magnitude occurs. While the sport battled for popularity, veteran players who had worked for years in relative anonymity witnessed a rookie gain resources and recognition that the league as a whole had been struggling for. Tension was evident as a result. Hard fouls that extended beyond the realm of competitive basketball started to repeat. Subtle shadow was used in post-game press conferences, which were easily readable by anyone who paid attention. While the statistics revealed an entirely different picture, former legends expressed ambivalent evaluations of her accomplishments. It would have been difficult for any athlete, much less a rookie in her first professional season, to deal with the kind of doubt that certain members of her own league were showing her while she was being hailed as the rescuer of women's basketball. The internal outcry would have been strong if she had entered the NBA's international arena to compete alongside Steph Curry, while seemingly ignoring the events and priorities in her own league. Her detractors would have had all the ammunition they needed thanks to the optics. Retreating from the circus was not only about her physical well-being, but also about preserving her reputation within an environment that was still working out how to live with the phenomenon she had become. The negotiation is entirely reframed by the financial reality. Caitlin Clark received about $76,000 for the season under her rookie contract with the Indiana Fever. There is no misprint in that number. Her actual league compensation was the kind of amount that gets buried in the rounding mistakes of a genuine business budget, despite the fact that she personally generated hundreds of millions of dollars in income through ticket sales, broadcast partnerships, and merchandise. However, that figure only reveals half of the picture. The other half reveals the true power dynamics. When she first entered the professional ranks, her sponsorship portfolio was unprecedented for a female basketball player. Wilson, Hy-Vee, State Farm, Nike, and Gatorade. The genuine fan loyalty she had developed over years of working out was the foundation for the tens of millions of dollars worth of contracts associated with those identities. True competitive excellence. She was already there and didn't require the NBA's marketing infrastructure to attract large viewers. The executives who put pressure on her team failed to internalize this section at all. The player's desire for what the league controls is the only basis for the conventional leverage used by league organizations to affect player behavior. Exposure, marketing reach, presence, and platform. Those conventional levers just don't work when an athlete enters the professional ranks having already amassed a million-strong independent fan base and inked significant corporate partnerships that beyond anything the league's wage structure could provide. Adam Silver and his negotiation team were operating under a strategy created for a scenario in which they had complete control. They were holding a hand that was essentially worthless in the new environment Clark had already created for herself. More than